Water feels certain. We wake up, turn on the tap, and it's always there. Clear, flowing. We rarely stop to think about where it comes from. But in some parts of the United States, that certainty is beginning to crack. And this isn't a dystopian movie script. As 2030 approaches, a combination of rapid population growth, a 2-decade megadrought in the Southwest, declining Rocky Mountain snowpack, and aging infrastructure has placed several cities on a thin line between stability and crisis. Some are small towns few people have heard of. Others are major metropolitan areas with millions of residents. One even completely lost its water, not because nature failed, but because its system collapsed. These are 15 American cities most at risk of facing a future where the tap may not flow the way it once did. If there's one place in America truly standing on disappearing water, it's Wenden. This small town in La Paz County has fewer than 1,000 residents. No major river, no massive reservoir like Lake Mead. Wenden depends almost entirely on groundwater, and that's the problem. For years, large-scale agriculture in the surrounding area has pumped groundwater in massive quantities. Reports indicate that many domestic wells have already run dry or had to be drilled significantly deeper. In parts of Arizona, aquifer levels have dropped dozens of meters over the past few decades. And natural recharge? Far slower than the rate of pumping. What makes Wenden especially vulnerable is simple. It has very few backup options. The next threat comes from a slightly larger town, built on the same shrinking foundation. Willcox has only a few thousand residents, but its agricultural footprint is extensive, and that's where the real pressure lies. Willcox sits atop the Willcox groundwater basin, which has experienced dramatic declines in water levels over the past few decades. In some areas, the water table has dropped more than 100 feet. Here, pumping happens at a much larger scale due to commercial farming. That means depletion isn't gradual, it's accelerated by economic activity, and like Wenden, the town lacks a major river or reservoir as an emergency backup. No Lake Mead, no diversified supply system. Groundwater here is like a savings account that keeps being withdrawn from, while rainfall deposits grow increasingly unpredictable as temperatures rise and weather patterns shift. Now we shift to one of the most iconic cities in America, the city of neon lights, casinos, the city that never sleeps. Las Vegas stands in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Roughly 90% of its water supply comes from one primary source, the Colorado River via Lake Mead. The problem? Lake Mead has reached some of the lowest levels in its modern history in recent years. Technically, Las Vegas is more prepared than many others. The city constructed a deep water intake system that can draw water from the lowest parts of the reservoir if levels continue to fall. It's also one of the most aggressive cities in the country when it comes to conservation. Nearly all indoor water is recycled back into the system. But Las Vegas doesn't control the Colorado River alone. That river is shared among multiple states and millions of people across the Southwest. As its flow shrinks under a megadrought that has lasted more than 2 decades, the pressure is felt everywhere. Phoenix is a symbol of growth in the face of limits. With a metro population in the millions, it has expanded rapidly, very rapidly in one of the driest regions in America. The city relies on a mix of Colorado River water, Salt River Project reservoirs, and groundwater. On paper, that sounds diversified. In reality, all of those sources are under the same pressure: extreme heat and prolonged drought. Arizona has already faced significant cuts to its Colorado River allocation in recent years, and not small ones. The state is among the hardest hit under tightened water sharing agreements. What makes the situation even more sensitive is housing growth. In 2023 to 2024, some new developments on the outskirts of Phoenix were paused due to concerns over long-term water availability. But the larger the city grows, the greater its demand. And when summer temperatures routinely exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, water consumption spikes dramatically. El Paso sits on the edge of the Chihuahuan Desert, directly bordering Mexico and the city of Ciudad Juarez. This isn't just a hot city, it's one of the driest major metro areas in the United States. Its primary water sources are the Rio Grande and the Hueco-Bolson aquifer. The problem? The Rio Grande has become increasingly unstable. In recent years, its flow has dropped sharply due to prolonged drought and reduced snowpack in the Rocky Mountains, which feed the river upstream. Then there's the Hueco-Bolson, an aquifer that has been heavily pumped for decades. Water levels continue to decline, and natural recharge cannot keep pace with withdrawals. What's notable is that El Paso is often recognized as one of the most forward-thinking cities in water management. It built the largest inland desalination plant for brackish water in the world and has aggressively pushed conservation. Per capita water use has dropped significantly compared to previous decades. But even innovation has limits when the broader climate system keeps tightening. Santa Fe sits at more than 7,000 feet above sea level, seemingly far removed from desert water crises. But that's where the paradox lies. Much of Santa Fe's water supply depends on snowpack in the southern Rocky Mountains. That snow melts and feeds regional rivers. The problem is that over the past 2 decades, snowpack has become less consistent and melts earlier due to rising temperatures. That means water arrives earlier in the spring, then disappears sooner as well. By the time summer arrives, river flows can drop sharply. Santa Fe has invested in water reuse projects and diversified its supply, and it has significantly reduced per capita consumption compared to the 1990s. But like other cities in the Southwest, it remains part of the same regional system. Hotter temperatures, longer dry periods, and increasing uncertainty about how much water will be available year to year. San Antonio is one of the fastest growing large cities in the United States. Its population has surpassed 1.6 million, and the metro area continues to expand outward. But behind that growth lies a major dependency: the Edwards Aquifer. For decades, the Edwards Aquifer has been the backbone of San Antonio's water supply. Its groundwater has historically been relatively clean and abundant, until prolonged drought sets in. When rainfall drops and temperatures rise, aquifer levels can decline significantly, triggering water use restrictions. San Antonio is often praised as a model for conservation. Per capita water consumption has fallen dramatically compared to the 1980s. The city has also worked to diversify its supply, investing in recycled water projects and alternative sources. But there's one factor that doesn't slow down: growth. Each year, thousands of new residents arrive. Demand rises, pressure builds. Moving slightly north, Austin is no longer just the capital of Texas. It's a magnet. Tech companies relocate here. New residents arrive every year. The metro area is expanding rapidly, and everyone needs water. Austin relies primarily on the Highland Lake system, including Lake Travis and Lake Buchanan, fed by the Colorado River of Texas. During the severe Texas drought of 2011 and the years that followed, Lake Travis dropped dramatically, leaving a stark bathtub ring etched into its cliffs. And that wasn't a one-time event. Texas is known for extreme drought cycles. When rain stops and heat intensifies, reservoirs can shrink quickly. Meanwhile, housing development continues. Demand rises even when supply becomes unstable. Just about 30 miles north lies one of the fastest growing cities in America. Georgetown was once a quiet small town. Now, new subdivisions are spreading outward. The population has surged over the past decade, and the city has repeatedly ranked among the fastest growing in the country. Growth brings economic opportunity. It also brings water strain. Georgetown depends on a mix of regional reservoirs and groundwater. The problem is that during major droughts, like the extreme one in 2011, reservoir levels can fall sharply, and as the population continues to climb, the margin of safety narrows. Local officials are aware of the pressure and are planning long-term supply expansions. But if Texas enters another intense drought cycle before 2030, fast-growing cities like Georgetown could feel the impact sooner than expected. Fort Worth is part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, one of the fastest-growing metropolitan areas in the United States. Millions of people live here, and all of them rely on a regional network of reservoirs such as Lake Worth, Eagle Mountain Lake, and supplies tied to the Trinity River Basin. At first glance, that sounds secure. Multiple lakes, multiple sources. But Texas has a long history of extreme droughts that can last for years. When prolonged dry periods hit, reservoir levels can fall sharply. And with the metro population rising year after year, total water demand keeps increasing. Long-term projections from the state of Texas itself indicate that without new supply projects, some regions could face future water deficits. That doesn't mean Fort Worth will run dry by 2030, but the structural pressure is real, and it's growing. San Diego sits on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. Water everywhere, yet almost none of it is directly drinkable. Historically, the city has imported most of its water from two major sources, the Colorado River and Northern California's State Water Project. The problem? Both sources are under long-term drought pressure. When California experienced severe drought from 2012 to 2016, widespread water restrictions were imposed. The lawns turned brown. Consumption was cut dramatically. It became a major wake-up call. Unlike some higher-risk cities, San Diego has financial and technological advantages. The region operates the Carlsbad Desalination Plant, one of the largest desalination facilities in the United States, converting seawater into drinking water. It's also advancing the Pure Water Program, an ambitious project that recycles wastewater into safe, potable water. San Diego is investing heavily to buffer itself. But even with innovation, it remains partly dependent on river systems and snowpack that are becoming increasingly unstable. From a coastal city with advanced technology, we move inland to California's interior. Tehachapi is perhaps best known for its vast wind farms, one of the most iconic renewable energy landscapes in the state. But ironically, this small city of about 14,000 residents has faced a far more fundamental challenge: drinking water. Tehachapi depends heavily on local groundwater and limited imported supplies from the California State Water Project. During California's severe 2012 to 2016 drought, several wells experienced significant strain. There were periods when the city had to import additional water to stabilize supply. Groundwater across central and southern California has long been overpumped, particularly for agriculture. Natural recharge often cannot keep pace. When consecutive dry winters occur, underground reserves shrink faster than expected. From the dry hills of Tehachapi, we move far north along the California coast. Mendocino is a small seaside town with fewer than 1,000 residents, known for its dramatic cliffs and New England-style wooden cottages. Its primary industry is tourism, boutique hotels, restaurants, art galleries, and nearly all of it depends on seasonal rainfall. Unlike large cities connected to major regional water systems, many properties in Mendocino rely on private wells or storage tanks filled by winter rains. When California was hit by extreme drought, consecutive years of low rainfall severely depleted local reserves. During past drought periods, strict water restrictions were enforced. Some inns even ask guests to limit showers. This isn't theoretical, it has already happened. Because the town is small, its system is small. There's no massive reservoir, no large desalination plant serving as a primary buffer. When the rain doesn't come, the margin for error shrinks quickly. Klamath Falls sits near Upper Klamath Lake, surrounded by vast agricultural land and a sensitive ecosystem. At first glance, it doesn't look like a place that would face water shortages. There's a lake, there are rivers, but the issue isn't just how much water exists, it's who gets it. For years, this region has been the center of conflict between farmers, Native American tribes, and efforts to protect endangered fish species. When drought struck southern Oregon in recent years, irrigation allocations were sharply reduced to preserve river flows and ecosystems. That meant farms went dry. The local economy took a hit. Tensions rose. Upper Klamath Lake itself has experienced significant level fluctuations during extended dry periods. And like much of the West, snowpack in the Cascade Mountains has grown less consistent as temperatures rise. And finally, we arrive at a completely different kind of crisis. Not a desert, not a falling aquifer, not a shrinking river, but a system collapsing from within. Jackson is not in the middle of the Southwest megadrought. The city is crossed by the Pearl River and receives relatively adequate rainfall compared to Arizona or Nevada. Yet, in 2022, millions watched as the city's water system failed. The main treatment plant suffered major breakdowns following flooding, compounded by years of neglected infrastructure. Tens of thousands of residents lost access to safe drinking water for weeks. The threat in Jackson isn't a lack of natural supply. It's aging infrastructure, underinvestment, and a fragile system pushed past its limits. That's why Jackson stands at the end of this list. Because as we move toward 2030, America's water risk isn't defined by drought alone. It's defined by growth, climate pressure, overuse, conflict, and whether the systems built decades ago can still carry the weight of today's reality.